There we go. Hopefully you guys can see me now. I do want to apologize about that. Apparently we were having a little bit of an issue. Let me just hop on my phone and see if it sounds good. I do want to apologize about that. All right, we are good. I want to apologize about that. Apparently, we were having some technical difficulties to start off today's stream, but we are not going to prevent us from talking some great New York Mets baseball. Before we get into all of today's stuff, please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this stream and all of that great stuff. In today's stream, we are going to be going over the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres series summary. We have some great stuff to talk about in there. Then we are going to be transitioning into the New York Mets and the New York Yankees series. You know what that means? That's a Subway series. And if there's any series that is my favorite during the year, it has to be the Subway Series. Just the phenomenal atmosphere that it brings to both Yankee fans and Mets fans. I know Mets fans and Yankee fans, yeah, you have a rivalry, but it's kind of like weird because it's like you don't really play each other much throughout the season. Obviously, you're not a divisional rival, so it's like for most of the time you could really care less what happens with the Yankees, but we are going to be discussing that today. I do want to apologize once again for the technical difficulties. There was some storm before, and I don't know, maybe it messed up my internet or something, but we are here and we are not going to let that stop us. Let me just try and get all my script and up. Let me just try and get my script and all of that great stuff up because I was kind of slambered with this. So let's stop wasting any more time and let's dive into the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres series summary. Obviously, the San Diego Padres came into town to play a 3-game set against the New York Mets. And, well, maybe it didn't go super well. Obviously, the New York Mets unfortunately lost. Unfortunately lost 2 out of 3 against San Diego Padres, that meaning they only won one, which was very unfortunate. Let's take a dive into that series, taking a little look-see at it. Getting into game one, the New York Mets lost game one by a score of 4-1. We had Mad Max Scherzer on the bump for the New York Mets, and obviously it was Scherzer day. You were really hoping to try and get something done. Scherzer pitching a phenomenal outing, but gets the L due to the par offense. Getting into it, as we could see, Max Scherzer went 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. Those are pretty phenomenal stats, to say for the least. Scherzer looked really good, 93 pitches, 62 of those were in the strike zone. I really was impressed from what we saw out of Max Scherzer this outing. The fastball looked good. All of his pitches, he was mixing up his pitches well. Just, I guess, an unfortunate turn of events that his offense wasn't able to get the job done. Obviously, taking a dive into the bullpen, Dolly Rodriguez came in for half of an inning, or faced one batter, retired one batter, giving up 2 hits, a run, a walk. He had a really rough outing. Seth Lugo came in to bail him out. Lugo was lucky enough to bail him out in 2/3 of an inning with a walk. Otherwise, pretty clean. That's what we like to see. And then Trevor Williams came in for the final 2 innings and obviously only surrendered a hit, a walk, and a strikeout. So, yeah, maybe not the best outing for, this Mets bullpen. Obviously, pretty unfortunate game to say for the least. In terms of this offense, let's take a look-see at it. And I would love to talk about all the runs scored. In the 7th inning, Luis Guillorme had a deep double to right center field to bring in Jeff McNeil. That's all the offense the Mets really provided. Obviously, only getting 4 hits. Obviously, the Mets got lucky with 1 error given up by the Padres, but the offensive production was just not here this game. Obviously, they didn't really walk at all. Only 1 walk in the entire game and 4 hits. So we only had 5 guys on base this entire game. Really an unfortunate outing. On to, I guess, maybe a little bit of brighter things. They still lost game 2, but getting into game 2, taking a look-see at it, the New York Mets lost game 2 by a score of 2-1. That's really frustrating, isn't it? The New York Mets lost this game by a score of 2-1. The Mets had Chris Bassitt on the mound, and Bassitt pitched another good outing. 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 0 walks, 11 strikeouts. Obviously, a career high 4 strikeouts as an MLB and a New York Met. Obviously, biggest thing with Bassitt was he looked pretty well. He was mixing up his pitches really well. His fastball was working for him. His changeup was working for him. Just the unfortunate thing of the offense not scoring any runs definitely comes back to kill you. Overall, just a really unfortunate offensive production night for the Mets. Like we said, the pitching was fine, no secret. Bassitt, 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 11 strikeouts. Like I said, his stuff was good. The bullpen was actually good. Ottavino coming in for an inning, striking out the side. You like to see that. Edwin Diaz came in, struck out 1 hitter. Very clean inning, only 11 pitches. So, the bullpen is really well rested. Obviously, Diaz only throwing 11 pitches, and then obviously, what's his face? Adam Ottavino only throwing 18. So you really would have thought, you rested your bullpen well. This would have been the most perfect time really to shine. All right, audio sounds fine. Just double checking, guys. But no, just the offense just seemingly did not do their job getting into their offense. You got 8 hits. Keep in mind, the Padres got 4. Actually, one thing I did want to talk about with Chris Bassitt, the 2 runs. Listen, I'm not the type of person to say, MLB umpires are corrupt and, that was a strike. Bassitt did get 1 call that was in the strike zone and was called a ball and would have been strike 3 to get them out of the inning. That was to Manny Machado, but what happened? He surrendered a 2-run homer. So it's little stuff like that comes back to bite the Mets. Obviously, just a really overall, I guess, unfortunate outing offensively. Taking a look at the offense, only 8 hits, and Padres got 4. Padres relied on the long ball, and it got them places. The Mets, they got 8 hits. Obviously, going 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position is not going to help you with that. Taking a look-see, like you said, 8 hits. Getting into the 9th inning, J.D. Davis had an RBI single to right to bring in Pete Alonso. Otherwise, really quiet game offensively. Alonso went 3 for 4, so he had a good day. Davis went 2 for 4, okay day. But everyone else, 0 for 4 from Marte, 0 for 3 from Canna, 0 for 4 from Escobar, big surprise. You know, just little stuff like that is really going, you know, to kill this team. And this was literally a 2021 game right there. I mean, to sum it up, you know, you literally had Tomas Nido come in with 2 outs in the ninth with the tying run 90 feet away, and Buck Showalter decides to go with Tomas Nido instead of pitch hitting Jeff McNeil. I get it. McNeil didn't have the best series, and he's been a little quiet the last week, but I think everyone and their mother would have chose Jeff McNeil to pitch hit instead of Tomas Nido, because Nido hit a little blooper to the second baseman Cronenworth. So, you know, it's mistakes like that that cost you games. And I get it. You know, I'm not going to go after Showalter. Showalter's done really little to no harm this season. But I just think that moment right there was a moment where you could have easily won this game. You know, knowing how clutch McNeil is. And I get it. Oh, you know, Nido has great numbers with runners in scoring position. That's great. But if I had the option between Nido and McNeil, I think everyone is going to choose Jeff McNeil. It's just pretty obvious. I think everyone is going to want to choose Jeff McNeil. So, you know, just overall, really an unfortunate, you know, outing to say for the least. But, you know, hopefully things can try and change. And getting into game 3 and the final game set of this 3-game series, this was a Sunday night ESPN baseball game. And I will say the Mets have had a track history of not playing well on Sunday night baseball games. But I don't know, maybe that's starting to become a myth. The New York Mets won this game by a score of 8-5. Like I said, they only took 1 of 3 from the series. And this was the game that they did win. They won by a score of 8-5. Taking a dive into it, we had Carlos Cookie Carrasco on the bump for the New York Mets. Carrasco, pretty solid outing. Obviously going 5 innings, surrendering 6 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. 92 pitches. Obviously, a lot of ground balls from Carrasco, a lot of fly balls from Carrasco. Carrasco really relied on his defense to make the plays that they needed to, and it was successful for him. Carrasco's stuff looked pretty good. Like I said, you know, a lot of guys weren't chasing, not a lot of swinging and misses. But at the end of the day, if you can get outs, that's really all I care about. And that's what we saw from Carlos Carrasco. So really tip of the cap to him. Following that, Drew Smith came in for the 6th inning. And Drew Smith, not a good outing. 2 hits, a run, and a strikeout, 24 pitches. Got into a little bit of a jam. Obviously, Drew Smith has been having a rough go with it, giving up a little bit of hard contact. It stayed in the ballpark. I get it, but, you know, the hard contact has been a little bit of a worry from Drew Smith. So we'll see. Hopefully he can try and figure that out, you know, coming ahead, you know, in the second half. Because, you know, we saw how great Drew Smith was in the first half, you know, maybe in April, May, and June. And then, you know, we saw him in the Cubs series and, you know, past series where the long ball has been an issue for him. So hopefully he can try and contain that and go back to whatever he was doing in the first half. Obviously, following that, Seth Lugo came in, an inning, a hit, a walk, clean outing. Following that, David Peterson came into relief. Pretty rare to see David Peterson come into relief this series. Everyone was expecting him to be a starter for the next couple of weeks or next couple of days because DeGrom isn't yet to come back. So kind of weird to see Peterson come in for an inning, giving up 2 hits, a run, a walk, a strikeout. Okay, whatever. Following that, Dolly Rodriguez came in to try and close this game out, but couldn't record an out, giving up 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks. So Dolly Rodriguez, also another guy who's been a little rough lately. So hopefully Dolly Rodriguez could really try and figure himself out. Obviously, following that, Edwin Diaz came in, and Edwin Diaz was lights out to try and bail him out. Obviously, with runners in scoring position, obviously, he had, you know, 2 runners on the corners with no outs. You know, yeah, you had a little bit of a good lead, but still, stuff like that is when you really got to be careful. And Edwin Diaz came in and was lights out, obviously going an inning and only surrendering 1 strikeout, 10 pitches, 7 of those were in the strike zone. So what we saw with Diaz was, you know, how quick and assertive he was to get, you know, the Mets out of, you know, this outing before it really transpired into something else that would have been much more negative. Getting into this Mets offense, it definitely was an offense that you would like to see, obviously, taking a deep dive at it. The Mets offense blew up this game, having 12 hits, 8 runs. Taking a dive into it, the Mets started off pretty slowly in the first 5 innings. They were getting no hit until they got their first hit from Daniel Vogelbach in the 5th. But taking a dive in the 6th inning, Pete Alonso started things off with a 3-run homer to center field, 425 feet. That was moonshotted to bring in himself, Marte, and Lindor. Following in the inning, Luis Guillorme had an RBI single to shallow center to bring in Daniel Vogelbach. Later on in the 6th inning, Tomas Nido had an RBI double to deep right to bring in Luis Guillorme. Going into the 7th inning, Pete Alonso with some more action. Alonso had a deep double to pretty much dead center to bring in Starling Marte. This ball was probably this much away from being his 2nd home run of the night, but oh well. Good to see him with some run creation. And then in the 7th inning, Mark Canha reaches on an infield single to the third baseman, Manny Machado, who made a throwing error. Pretty rare that we see guys like Manny Machado make errors considering, how great they are defensively. And that brought in 2 runs in Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. So the Mets scoring 8 runs obviously looked really good. Alonso 2 for 3, 4 RBIs, player of the game, no doubt. Canha 2 for 3. Obviously, we saw Vogelbach 1 for 3 with a walk. Nimmo 1 for 5. Marte 2 for 4. Lindor 2 for 5. So really good to see the Mets offense really step up this game because we saw, for most of this Padres series, they weren't really doing much. They were pretty quiet for the most part. I really hate to bring up 2021, but we were seeing a lot of 2021 Mets. It's pretty obvious to say. So hopefully you ended on a good note. I get it. You still lost the series. You would have much rather have taken 2 of 3. Like I said, take 2 of 3, and I have no problem with that. Unfortunately, you took 1 of 3. You didn't get swept, so I guess at the end of the day, I'm more happy than that because if we got swept, I probably would have been really upset considering that they would have had a 4-game losing streak, but that was not the case. They were able to get the job done, so that is really good to see from the New York Mets. But now the Padres series is over. The Padres are going to other places, and the Mets are having a 2-game set at home between an interleague team, and that is in the Subway Series. The New York Mets are playing the Subway Series against the New York Yankees. One of my favorite times of the year. Super exciting. Getting into it, the New York Mets are going into this season, this series. This is it. This is a 2-game series against the New York Yankees, as they usually are. There are a total of 4 games. Obviously, they're always, a 2-game series. That's how it's been going for, pretty much the Subway Series started, to say for the least. But taking a deep dive into it. Taking a deep dive into it. The New York Mets are entering the series by a record of 59-37, 29-17 on home. The New York Yankees are coming into Queens for a 2-game set with an overall record of 66-31, 29-19 on the road. So the best record in baseball. The Mets will have to try and combat that for sure. Taking a dive into Game 1. Game 1 is tonight at 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. We will have Taiwan Walker on the bump for the New York Mets. Walker having a phenomenal season, 7-2 on the season, 2.55 ERA, a 1.09 WHIP, 91 2/3 innings pitched, 73 strikeouts. Taiwan Walker has been having a really good season, really good first half. This will be his first start of the second half. We know how things were last year with Walker. He had a really good first half. Once that All-Star break hit, he went into the toilet. With that, I know some people may be concerned about that, but I think a big difference between why I don't think that will happen this year is because last year with Walker, the fatigueness was really a big thing. Coming back from injury, he got fatigue, and his repertoire really changed. And now Walker, pitching for a year straight without injury, I think is going to help him out. Obviously, Walker hasn't been giving up many barrels this season, really, if any. I think in the lower half of Baseball Savant in barrel percentage. So that's really good to see. But Walker, the splitter slider has been nice. The split finger's been nice. He's throwing it really harder compared to last year. So, that's resulting in a lot of swinging and misses. So as of right now, biggest thing with Taiwan Walker is keep up what he's doing, and he's really going to be successful. With Walker, we could see a mix. Maybe he'll be a ground ball pitcher first start, and maybe he'll be a strikeout thrower first start. And that's okay. I think that's kind of interesting that, he could do that some starts. So overall, I've been very impressed with Taiwan Walker in the first half. And this Yankees squad is obviously, an elite offensive core. So this is going to be a big test to see, can he battle against one of the best lineups, in MLB right now. So, we're going to have to see how things can square there. So Taiwan Walker will be starting. For the New York Yankees, they will have the southpaw in Jordan Montgomery. Obviously, Mets have seen Montgomery in the past. He is a lefty, and we know how the Mets have had their fair share of numbers. against left-handed pitching, and it's not that great. So if you're the Mets case, what I always say is try and get to them early. And, this is really how it's been with the Mets. This is really how it's been with the Mets. They really they could really tack on these left-handed pitchers early on, but then what's going to happen is coming the third, fourth, fifth inning, they're going to settle in. And that's been the thing for the Mets. That's been the issue for the Mets this season when it comes to left-handed pitching is the first two innings. We saw it with Alcantara. We saw it with Trevor Rogers. I mean, we've seen it with a lot of lefties that the Mets have faced this year. Even Patrick Corbin. The first two innings, the left-handed pitcher may not have their stuff. But the Mets don't tack on. The Mets don't take advantage of that. And then they settle in coming the second, third, fourth inning. So that's the biggest thing with Montgomery. And I mean, that's kind of how he's been a little bit this season, Jordan Montgomery. So if the Mets can tack on to him early, then, you could really be talking about winning a ball game, because I get it. The Yankees lineup is good. I mean, we're going to talk about some of the guys, but Taiwan Walker's having a great season, I will say, for the least. The strikeouts have been there. The Yankees are a high strikeout team. So, I mean, if, you can try and just really work something out there, I mean, you could really have a really good ball game for the New York Mets on their side. So yeah, Jordan Montgomery will be on the bump for the New York Yankees tonight. I'm super excited. This is going to be really great matchup, to say for the least. Pretty underrated matchup too, in my opinion. Obviously, that is tonight's start. Getting into game 2. This will be tomorrow's game. The New York Mets are supposedly going to have Max Scherzer on the bump for the New York Mets. I know a lot of people were hoping that it was going to be Jacob deGrom, but unfortunately, Jacob deGrom will be making another rehab assignment this Wednesday in Syracuse. So Mad Max Scherzer will be on the bump for the New York Mets. It's Scherzer. I'd much rather see deGrom, but hey, listen, it's better than, I guess, half the other pitchers that could easily be on the mound. So that's going to be super exciting. Max Scherzer, obviously 6-2 on the season, a 2.28 ERA, a 0.89 WHIP, 75 innings pitched, and 98 strikeouts. Scherzer having a pretty phenomenal season, has a good repertoire of pitches. Scherzer having a phenomenal season, to say for the least, returning from injury, and it really doesn't even look like he has had an injury. Obviously coming back from injury and really just showing what of a dominant Hall of Fame pitcher he is capable of being. Looking at Max Scherzer, he has a whole arsenal of pitches to throw: the fastball, the changeup, the slider. And lately, the movement on his slider has been really dominant. So hopefully he can keep that up against the Yankees lineup. Hasn't pitched against the Yankees a whole lot. Obviously, he did, pitch against them, obviously, when he was an American League pitcher with the Tigers back in the day, but hasn't faced up against the Yankees a whole lot, considering, Washington Nationals for most of his career, and obviously they don't really play the Yankees a lot. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, for the New York Yankees, they will have Domingo Germán. Germán not having the best of season, and he kind of deserves it. Not going to get into that, but 0-1 on the season, a 15 ERA, a 2.33 WHIP, 3 innings pitched. And yeah, that's why he's only pitched 3 innings this year. Obviously, he had an injury, and he had one start. I believe it was against the Red Sox. He got lit up in those 3 innings, giving up 6 hits, 2 strikeouts, a walk, and 2 homers. So who knows? Maybe if the long ball is an issue for Domingo Germán, the Mets could, take advantage of that. So, yeah, like I said, take advantage of that. You are playing at Citi Field. So, I mean, if you were playing at Yankee Stadium, you have that short porch advantage there, obviously. But as of right now, I mean, we're just going to have to see how that plays out for the New York Mets against Domingo Germán. So, obviously, this is going to be a really exciting Subway Series. This is the first time in MLB history where both teams are leading the division. I know with the Yankees, that's kind of what we've really seen in the past, but the Mets have never really led their division when playing the Yankees. So this is going to be the first Subway Series in history where both teams are in first place of their division. So super exciting. Obviously, Yankees have plenty of room in the AL East. We could take a little look-see at the Yankees in the standings. I know they're 12 and a half games back. So, I mean, they got plenty of room unless they just go on a really bad stretch, but they got plenty of room. So going to be super exciting to see how that AL East matchup goes. Obviously, Mets, like we said, 2 games back, so maybe not as much room as the Yankees in their division, but still they're up there. So who really cares at the end of the day? So that's going to be a really exciting matchup to say for the least. Obviously, some keynotes to take advantage of for the New York Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton was placed on the 10-day IL, so the New York Mets will not be seeing him. So I guess if, for the Mets case, that's a good thing. Obviously, Aaron Hicks also is on the day-to-day, so he will not be present in the outfield. Probably see maybe guys like Tim LeCastro taking over his spot to the extent. So that's going to be, like I said, good case for the New York Mets that they will not have to face up against those 2 hitters. Obviously, 2 big power packs, and considering how Walker has been dealing with light contact, that'll be to the Mets' advantage there. So, yeah, obviously, my players to watch this series, I think it's pretty obvious to say Aaron Judge is one. I get it. Judge does strike out a lot, and he's been a little quiet lately. I mean, he's been hitting homers and striking out a lot, but still very dominant ball player from what we've been seeing. So I got to go Aaron Judge. I mean, this dude is having just a career phenomenal year, much better than his 2017 probably. And considering that he's been doing a little bit of everything, Aaron Judge, for a power hitter with 37 home runs, you see that 294 average, that over 1,000 OPS. So that just really goes to show you, he strikes out a lot, but he's definitely capable of getting on base at an elite level. So Aaron Judge is definitely a player to watch out for this series for the New York Mets. Obviously, the Mets are going to have to be careful pitching to Judge because, like I said, Yankees are definitely a little bit of a different team than last year. I feel last year they really just relied on their power, but I feel this year they're really relying on multiple stuff. I mean, they have a lot more contact hitters, in guys like Anthony Rizzo, who was brought in. But I mean, yeah, let's take a look-see at this Yankees lineup. I mean, I'm kind of curious to see, I've been following the Yankees a little bit, but not so much. I know Trevino has definitely been a big part to their success. And obviously Matt Carpenter, they brought him in from not playing baseball for the last couple of years. Obviously Carpenter was much more known in his time when he was when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals. And he was brought into this New York Yankees squad, and he has just been electric for them. I mean, the power this dude has been offering, the versatility he has been offering. Matt Carpenter has really been a dominant ball player for this New York Yankees team. So I guess some players to keep an eye out for the Yankees, who I think will be successful for the Yankees. I got to go Judge. I think that's just an obvious thing to say. But their DH in Matt Carpenter, he has been lights out lately, so I'm going to go him. And my last and final, I'll say Josh Donaldson. I think he'll have a good series. For the New York Mets, who I think is going to have a good series for the Mets, for the New York Mets, I think Pete Alonso obviously is a guy to say. Alonso has pretty good numbers against the Yankees, to say for the least, considering, the second day you'll have Domingo Germán. The first day tonight you are facing the lefty. And Alonso has good power numbers against lefties, maybe contact-wise not, but he has good power numbers against lefties, so I'll take that. So I'll say Alonso. Obviously, Alonso who's been really hot the last couple games. Obviously, the last 7 games, let's take a look-see at Pete Alonso's stats in the last 7 games. He has been pretty good. I know that Alonso went on that 2-week RBI kind of stench where he wasn't getting an RBI. He was stuck at 69. Really nice for some reason. But last 7 games, Alonso in 26 at-bats, 9 hits, 2 homers, 10 ribbies, a walk, 3 strikeouts, batting average of 346, an OBP of 419, and a slugging of 692. So he's hitting the ball hard, a lot of doubles, a lot of homers, a lot of extra base hits. And he's really not striking out a whole lot. I know before the All-Star break, he was kind of striking out a little bit, but I'll give Alonso that in the Padres series. A lot of selective hitting. Alonso was getting plenty of sliders in the dirt, and he was check swinging at some, but he wasn't being rung up or being called to swing on that. So I'll give Alonso credit to that. So he's been doing really good. I will go Jeff McNeil. I know he's been a little cold lately, but McNeil does have one of the best numbers in the Subway Series, posting a 390 average when facing the New York Yankees. So I think McNeil may have a little bit of a good series. And my third and final, I think I'm going to go. I think Francisco Lindor is going to have a really good series. I know Lindor, the last time the Mets played the Yankees, what happened? What did Lindor do? he had a 3 home run game in the Subway Series. So who knows? Hopefully that can happen again. I don't think he'll get 3 home runs again. We'll see. But Lindor did have a great Subway Series last year. And Lindor, I mean, he had an okay Padres series, and I think this will be a good time to show his dominance. So I'm going to go Francisco Lindor. So that is going to be really exciting for the New York Mets. It is a 2-game series, so my predictions, I think they'll take 1 of 2. I think they'll split it, and I think that's pretty fair. I mean, if you're a Yankees fan, I'm assuming you guys could hopefully agree on that maybe. So that's going to be super exciting to see the Subway Series. Obviously, like I said, it is my favorite time of the year. Super exciting, obviously. So much goes on. And it's always in the second half. I mean, I think last year it was in July, like right before the All-Star break. So super exciting. So now let's stop wasting any more time and let's dive into your guys' comments, questions, and concerns. If you guys have any comments, if you guys have any questions, drop it below. Let's get into what you guys got. If you have any comments about the Mets, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Athletics, the Yankees, the Subway Series, anything, drop it below. Gio says, let's get the W tonight, LFGM. I hope so. The W is hopefully going to be the thing. I believe the Mets are the underdog to win. I think the Yankees were favorited by minus, I think, like 110, where I think the Mets were like plus 100 or something. So we'll see. The underdog can definitely take over. Karen says, LFGM, hey, Hayden, so excited for the Subway Series. Likewise. Connor says, both teams, Mets and Yankees, are having amazing seasons. It will be very exciting to see how the series goes. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, we rarely see the Mets and Yankees having a great season at the same time where they are both in first place in their respective divisions. So, like I said, that's the first time in their history. A little fun fact. So I'm super excited. I think this is going to be a really great Subway Series. And who knows, maybe we'll see one in October. Never know. Ibing Dose, what's happening? Mark, Cal, yeah, that was me before. What's going on, guys? Peter, Marco, Kobe says, hey, Hayden, unfortunate series against the Padres. Anyways, on to the Subway Series. Absolutely, man. Trey, what's going on? Trey wrote a little bit of a paragraph. He says, as a Mets fan, I will give credit where it was due, and the Braves lineup definitely deserves a lot of respect for me. However, we improved significantly, that's a tongue twister, as well as especially with Buck Showalter at the helm, and should never count out until all 162 games are played. We've proven time and time again that we could hang out with elite teams this season, and once again, we proved it in this series. Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, I think really with the Mets, I mean, I get it, you know, you only took 1 of 3 against the Padres, but it came down to, you know, a nail biter. In game 2, you lost 2-1. You had the tying run 90 feet away. So, I mean, the Mets are really never out of it until they're out of it. I mean, I get it. The 2-out hitting, hitting with runners in scoring position has been a little bit quiet lately, and you hope you can try and work on that. We know how the Mets were last year with that, and you obviously don't want a repeat of that, especially seeing how great they were, in the first half. I mean, we saw that Phillies comeback. The comeback against the Cardinals, that comeback against the Giants. So there's just been so many times where, 2-out hitting and, selective hitting has really been a favorite for the Mets. Lately, it's been a little bit quiet. I will say very impressive to see in game 3, Guillorme and Nito, 2 outs with runners in scoring position. Success. So hopefully they can try and be more successful throughout the season. And I agree with you, Trey. I mean, I think the Braves are definitely a very elite team. And people are saying, oh, lol, the Mets are collapsing like last year. No, the Braves are getting better. The Mets are still continuing to play at the same pace they are. When it comes to winning ball clubs, I mean, they're, still at the same pace of what they were, playing at originally. I mean, you look at the standings, New York Mets are 59-37. So, I mean, you're still 20-plus games over 500. You have a winning percentage of .615. In your last 10, you're 6-4. Likewise with the Braves, who are also 6-4 in their last 10. So it's not, the Mets are collapsing. It's just the Braves are getting better. And that's what happened last year is the Braves started off pretty cruddy in the first half and then didn't start getting hot until after the deadline. So a little bit earlier we're seeing this year with the Braves. The Braves started to connect June, July, when they went on their 13-game win streak, where that wasn't the case for the Braves last year. And the Mets just totally collapsed last year. The Mets are not collapsing. It's just in the first half, there was no challenging. The NL East was dead. It was the Mets. I mean, the Phillies were under 500. They had a crisis with Girardi and really no hitting whatsoever. I mean, the Braves had a pitching crisis. The Marlins were the Marlins, and the Nationals were the Nationals. So now, I mean, it's the Braves are getting better, and they're competing with the Mets. And that's going to be the thing. The Mets playing 9 games against the Atlanta Braves in like 2 weeks of August. So that's going to be exciting, and that's going to determine a lot. So, I mean, I agree. I think the Braves are a really good team. I respect them for what they did last year at the deadline. They didn't buy players. They bought wins. Moneyball mentality. Don't buy players, buy wins. And they bought those wins in Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler. You look at those guys' stats from the first half last year, not really that great. But their front office saw something in those guys that other teams didn't, and they were successful from it. And I respect the Braves for that. We'll see how they do it, at this year's deadline. I think it's going to be a great trade deadline this year for the Mets and the Braves. I'm super excited. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. Peter says, hey, Hayden, what's up, bro? Super excited for the Subway Series. Both NY teams are playing really well. Yeah, I mean, I'll say it again. Yankees are having a phenomenal season. I mean, they always are for the most part. But, I mean, this year, when you're 12 and a half games ahead from the second-place team in your division, I mean, that's just telling you really how elite you are. I mean, this is a team probably who's going to get over 100 wins. I mean, has a lot of milestones to look at. Obviously, Aaron Judge possibly breaking Roger Maris's record. That would be really cool to see. So really excited to see, Mets and Yankees play together and obviously separately this season. Seth, what's going on? Subway Series time? Absolutely. Kobe says, thoughts on bringing in Daniel Vogelbach? Yeah, I mean, I know I didn't really discuss the whole, Vogelbach bringing in situation. I really kind of thought it was intriguing. I liked obtaining him. I didn't like giving up Colin Holderman, considering that bullpen is kind of your weakness at this point, and you trade away pretty much your one of few best bullpen arms who's having a great rookie season. So I wasn't great and happy on that. But overall, with Vogelbach, he brings a lot of power. And besides Pete Alonso, this team doesn't have much power. I mean, Escobar hasn't been doing what we've been hoping for with power. Okay, yeah, Lindor has like 15 homers. Okay. Escobar has like 11. Okay, but, extra base hits, doubles, hard contact. We're not getting a whole lot of that from Escobar, Lindor, and the other guys in this lineup besides Pete Alonso. So bringing in Vogelbach is another power hitter, another beast, another unit, a DH candidate. I mean, he's better than Dom Smith and JD Davis, to say. So it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's also another guy to play backup at first. If Alonso gets an off day or Alonso's DHing for whatever reason, considering you probably are not going to have Dom Smith. I'm going to say this. I guarantee you 1 month from now, Dom Smith is not going to be a New York Met. So you're going to need a backup first baseman. And sure, you got it, a Mark Canha. If you still have J.D. Davis, you have him. But I feel Vogelbach's more of a, exceptional one. So it's going to be super exciting to see. Give me 1 minute, guys, if you can. Give me 1 second, guys. I do apologize. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I am back. All right, sorry about that, guys. We're having a little bit of an issue. All right, we are here. Yeah, so I think it's a pretty good move. Do you think Daniel Vogelbach could help out this offense big time, says Cal? I mean, yeah, I know that Vogelbach only got 1 hit in, Sunday's game, but he broke the no-hitter in the 5th, and he kind of got, the train rolling. He was kind of like the head train, and everyone else kind of started to, provide some offense behind him. So I think, is Vogelbach going to make a 2015 Cespedes, difference, or, a 2021 Baez difference? I don't know about that big. Obviously, there's much, bigger, moves to make, and, I don't want to say better guys, but, better offensive pieces that the Mets will target at the trade deadline. But as of right now, I think Vogelbach can provide the power aspect, like I, said a minute ago. The lack of power. And I think Vogelbach could be some type of remedy to go after that. So, I think that's going to be super exciting to watch Vogelbach. Watching him run is pretty funny too. If people thought, Alonso was, a fatty pants and, cheeseburger head and, whatever people called Alonso, watch Daniel Vogelbach. I'm kind of curious, how much does this dude weigh? Daniel Bach. I don't know. Take a strong guess. He's German. He is 270 pounds. So, yeah, he is definitely a big dude. He could definitely be a defensive tackle in the NFL. Sports fan says, like when it's a lefty pitching, might have Contreras DH, and when it's a righty, have Vogelbach DH and Contreras catch. Yeah, I mean, Wilson Contreras, I guess we can talk about how the New York Mets are having strong considerations with Wilson Contreras and David Robertson from the Chicago Cubs. Obviously, according to Twitter, it's kind of been rolling. Michael Meyer just reports that Billy Epler has contacted the Angels to check in on the availability of Ohtani. Okay, that's interesting. But let's take a look-see. I want to try and find a lot of the tweets where they talked about Wilson Contreras and David Robertson. Obviously, there's a ton of pictures. So, yeah, I mean, it pretty much just, Mets and Cubs have ongoing discussions about a trade. That would send Wilson Contreras and David Robertson to the New York Mets for prospects, according to Pat Ragazzo on Twitter. And keynote, and I say keynote, he also adds, not name Alvarez or Beatty. So that means key prospects that are not talking about Francisco Alvarez and Brett Beatty. And when I hear that, I clap my hands because those are two guys you want to keep. So it is odd that it says not Alvarez, considering that you're getting a Contreras who is a catcher. So it's like you kind of have that short-term catcher there until Alvarez comes up. I mean, listen, whether Alvarez is going to be a full-time catcher when he first comes up, that's another story. With Wilson Contreras taking a look-see at his contract, obviously, he's only on a one-year deal with the Cubs this past season. So, yeah, he is going to hit free agency. So, yeah, he is going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason. So, I mean, I guess it's going to come down to, are you willing to sign him for pretty much 2 months? I mean, listen, last year you gave up Pete Armstrong for Baez, and you only had Baez for 2 months. You have Trevor Williams still, but I don't think PCA is worth what Trevor Williams is. So, I don't want that to happen again, obviously. I don't think it will. But I think it's going to be super exciting. And pretty much the tweet pretty much just says talks are ongoing. Packages are still being discussed. So right now, when it comes to, I guess, news, with trade deadline candidates, obviously Trey Mancini is one with the Baltimore Orioles with Jorge Lopez, obviously. So you got the Orioles, but the Orioles are also playing pretty well, which is surprising to say. So who knows? I don't know if, they're going to be in a position. I mean, who knows? We'll see. So, yeah, obviously you have that one. Obviously the Cubs, they're out of contention. So you have Contreras, you have Robertson. Obviously, those are kind of like the big two. There's been talks with JD Martinez from the Red Sox. Obviously, Red Sox, Boston, they're just falling apart in Boston. So, I mean, they could possibly be, giving up some guys at the deadline. So, JD Martinez could be a nice guy, not very versatile, considering that he isn't really a good defensive player. So, you'd obviously really only DH him. So, I don't think that'll leave I don't want to say that's going to leave a little bit of a hole in your lineup, but I'd be a little weary with that. Looking on Twitter, Michael Puma says James McCann is hoping to play in a minor league rehab game as soon as this weekend. So that's good to see McCann making some progress on his new injury. Otherwise, Twitter is pretty much the same old stuff in terms of Mets news. So, yeah. Elliot, what's going on? He says, hey, let's go Blue Jays. Yeah, Blue Jays are also looking intriguing this year. Alex, what's going on? Trey says, watching Vogelbach run the bases reminded me of Bartolo Colon. Yeah, it did. He's a funny guy. I like him. Marco says, hey, let's buckle in for a great second half. Absolutely, man. Kobe says, Diaz is so filthy, I cannot get over him every time he pitches. Diaz deserves Cy Young votes. No chance he wins, but he may get 5th or 6th place votes. Yeah, I mean, Diaz is having a really, phenomenal season where, I mean, he is the best reliever I mean, in the NL, I mean, he surpassed Josh Hader. And even if Hader was pitching, the usual, I still think Diaz could make a case. So, yeah, I think he definitely can get some. Oh, probably win reliever of the year, if anything. Kyle says biggest strength and weakness for the Mets in the second half. I did actually make a video going over the New York Mets second half where I did talk about some strengths and weaknesses. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely do that. But I will answer your question, Cal. Biggest strength, I'm going to go pitching depth. Biggest weakness, I'm going to go hitting with runners in scoring position. Trey says the lineup looked much better with Guillorme in place of Escobar. I think with one more bat and proper management, the offense will be in good shape. Just got to figure out the bullpen. Yeah, I mean, Trey, I agree with you 100%. And it's funny that you brought up the comment about what's his face? Guillorme playing third base over Escobar. I mean, we saw how that series just went, with the Padres. And who started game 3 at third base? Guillorme, and it wasn't Escobar. And I mean, I really hate to trash talk Escobar on here, but he really hasn't done much since April. And I get it. Guillorme has been a little bit slower lately, but he's providing more offense than what Escobar is right now. And also the defense is also a big boost considering we're going into a Yankee series, a lot of hard hitters who definitely hit the ball on the ground pretty hard. And you want your best defender out there at third. In obviously, Luis Guillorme is a much better defender than Eduardo Escobar. Escobar's defense, I guess, is average. It's not bad. It's, average. He could make a couple good Gold Glove plays then and, bobble some simple errors. It's just, how it can happen sometimes. But as of right now, I would probably say I have no problem giving Guillorme the starts at third and putting Escobar on the bench. I mean, if that's just how it's going to be, I mean, if Escobar is going to come out and, he's swinging at, every single pitch, 0-2 counts constantly and just not looking like himself, then, yeah, he's going to get benched. And I'd rather give Guillorme the chance because at least Guillorme has the option to walk. Listen, Guillorme, he's an intriguing hitter. I mean, he's kind of like a McNeil, slaps the ball to the other way, just makes contact. Maybe not as great as McNeil, but, definitely to a, recognizable level. The on-base percentage is favorable. He walks a fair amount. So, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, we're going to have to see, and I think that could be a case to explore soon. Elliot says, what would you rate Buck Showalter so far? Can't believe no team was interested in him as a manager. I think someone actually mentioned that last stream. Yeah, I mean, Buck Showalter, I mean, I'd give him a solid 9 out of 10 if I were to grade him. He's really done a phenomenal job. I mean, with the analytics, which a lot of people thought he was anti-analytic. That was just a rumor, horrible analytic system in Baltimore. I think now it's okay, but back then when he was there, it was pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people just expected that he was out of the game for 3 years, hasn't managed a game since 2018. And, he's older. There were the rumors about anti-analytics. Oh, he doesn't know how to manage a bullpen. And I guess that kind of just discouraged people from being interested in him. And I mean, I'll say the same thing here. I mean, I would come on these streams during the offseason when the Mets were exploring for a manager, and I would, say those things about Showalter. I mean, I said pretty much what I just told you guys. So, I mean, he really came to a surprise. I mean, I'm surprised that no team really had the option, to explore him and have an interest in him. Obviously, teams like the Yankees, after they fired Girardi in 2017, they went with Boone, not Showalter. The Phillies, when they hired Girardi in, I think it was 19, 20? Showalter was on the market. Same thing with the Giants. They got Gabe Kapler. Showalter was available. So, I mean, and I feel that, honestly, Showalter could have been a really successful manager with Philly or San Francisco. Just, I mean, the players they had there and, I guess, get the lack of farm, I think he really could have been a successful guy. Paul says, yes, the Yankees are hot. They are. They are. Kobe says, hopefully this convinces Epler to make bullpen moves right now and gives momentum going into the Yankee series. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, 2 takeaways from game 3 of the Padres series. Bullpen help is going to be needed. You lost Colin Holderman, which was, like I said, I wasn't crazy about that trade. I mean, I would have not gave up Holderman or any bullpen guy considering how much, the Mets, need bullpen assistance. But yeah, I mean, right now the Mets are going to make bullpen moves at the deadline. Talking Mets with Rob. I appreciate you tuning in, man. He says, what's up, buddy? Just got to the parking lot at Citi Field. Awesome, man. Yeah, I did see you are going to the game tonight. Hopefully you have a really good time there if you are still listening. I don't know what time the gates open. I think usually they open like 5, but I don't know if they're open earlier for the Subway Series. But yeah, hopefully you have a really good time there. Obviously, it's going to be electric tonight. I'll be watching on TV. I'll be watching pretty much till all 9 innings. So, I mean, it's going to be really exciting. Mets, Yankees, both teams are looking really great. I know I said it a ton of times, but I'll say it again. It's going to be a really, really exciting series, to say for the least. Aaron Judge, yeah, Judge has been looking good. Marco says, what's the news with Tyler McGill? So McGill, I think he had like some like elbow thing or back tightness, or it wasn't anything crazy. I think they said that he was throwing at Citi Field a couple days ago. So maybe he'll be back in September at some depth. Baseball's mayor, how it's going? It's doing pretty well, man. Cal says Drury, Happ, Farmer have great numbers against lefties. If Epler is going to alternate the DH, that could be the play. I still rather get Bell and have him play every day. Yeah, I mean, those are some pretty good guys to give. Obviously, Ian Happ, very versatile. You could put him in the outfield, really anywhere. Above average guy, nice table setter guy, in my opinion. Brandon Drury, you had him last year. It would kind of suck to trade for a guy you had last year. But, I mean, hey, Brandon Drury really wasn't great with the Mets. So, I mean, can you blame them? But, yeah, obviously, Drury, third base type of guy, even the outfield. So, all those guys are very versatile, in my opinion, except, Kyle Farmer. Josh Bell, too, contact type of guy, table setter. Obviously, Bell has, I think, over 100 hits, high average, high OPS guy. So, Bell is also another guy to explore. Good take there, Cal. Peter says Domingo Germán is a clown. Yeah, I know why. Mets fan MB, what's going on? He says, are the Mets going to get Mancini? Let's get him today. Yeah, I mean, Mets have had pretty good conversations with the Baltimore Orioles about Trey Mancini and the possibility of Jorge Lopez, their bullpen arm, and the Mets are in need for that. As of right now, Orioles are in like a weird spot. I mean, they're at 500 and, I mean, had at one point, a 10-game win streak? I think maybe 11 or 12 it may have been. I think it ended in Chicago before the All-Star break. But the Orioles, I mean, are really putting up a good fight. I mean, I watched some of that Orioles and Yankees series, and playing the best team in baseball, they put up a pretty darn good fight. I mean, they took 1 of 3, but they arguably could have won 2 of 3. In that third game, they only lost by 1 game. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting with the Orioles going into the second half. I mean, they got some great guys on that team. I think if anyone's going to get shipped away, it's probably Mancini, just because I think they want to go for like kind of the younger route. I mean, they kind of, got some of their prospects up, but Orioles, they have a good future. Ibindos, what's going on, man? Ibindos says, how many home runs does Pete Alonso finish the season with? Considering that he has 25 now, I'm going to say he finishes with 43. Trey says, buy or sell, David Peterson should be the number 5 starter in the rotation for the rest of the season. Like I said, I always love having that lefty in the rotation, but I just don't see it. I mean, unless you move Walker or someone out of the rotation, which I don't see that considering they are in contract years, and obviously you don't want to upset them. I just don't see Walker going to the bullpen. So, I mean, as of right now, I could probably say sell. I would like to say buy because I think Peterson has really earned himself a rotation spot. So, yeah, I mean, we're just going to honestly have to see. Mitch, what's going on, Mitch? He says, hey, man, what's up? Great job on Sunday night live. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Connor says, could Francisco Alvarez really make his debut this year? It's possible. I mean, if you go for Contreras, I doubt it, but who knows? I mean, you could still bring him up as a DH or, some type of hard contact hitter. Coco Cat Mets, what's going on, man? I like the background there. He says, nothing better than beating the Yanks. Yeah, man, hopefully that is the case. Like I said, as long as you take 1 of 2, I'll be happy. But appreciate you tuning in, man. Kobe says, thoughts on the Mets going into August? A lot of AL East series and against the Braves. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to have a lot of division matchups. Obviously, you have a lot against the Nationals, so you take advantage there. A lot against the Marlins. Marlins are kind of in a rough spot. I mean, they've really been kind of slumping the last couple weeks, and they've been getting a lot of negativity. They got slammed by the Reds last night, I saw. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, those games against the Braves are going to be the games that probably determine the division. Joey Anelli, he says, go Yankees. Appreciate you tuning in, man. See, we got a Yankees fan on the channel. Appreciate you stopping by. Obviously, Yankees definitely are looking good this year. I'll give you guys that. Yankees are definitely looking good this year. Kobe says the Mets need to figure out this jam with them hitting with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. They got to get back into their original groove from earlier this season. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think obviously right now going into the second half, that's going to be a big thing. I mean, we saw how it was last year. The Mets went into the second half and their offense just, completely fell apart. So I guess right now you really hope that, they can figure it out. I guess just say. Cal says, do you think Pete Alonso will surpass Wright's and Piazza's 124 single-season RBI mark? That's a good question. I like that question. I'm going to say yes, considering that he's at – how many RBIs does Alonso have right now? Alonso has – right now, he leads the league in RBIs. I know that. He has 82 RBIs. Yeah, he'll probably get there. I mean, if he finished with 120 in 2019, he'll probably get that. He'll probably get like 130, 140 maybe. Sports fan says, could Mark Vientos be the next Pete Alonso? I mean, with that power, certainly has great power. So yeah, I think 100%. I mean, the strikeout ratio is a little bit more concerning with Vientos in the minor leagues than Alonso originally was, but I would say definitely has the potential. Coco Cat says, for historical perspective, the Mets only had a .600 winning percentage 4 times in their history. So this is by far one of the best lineups till now. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. I mean, right now, you look at this team and, right now they are, better than, they're at pretty much the same level of wins than the 86 team. So, I mean, we're going to have to see, how the rest of the season goes, but it's looking pretty good. I'm liking their odds. Coco Cat says Contreras is a rental-free agent end of the year. Yeah, so I mean, maybe that'd be like one kind of negative thing to signing him, but we'll see. Baseball's mayor says DeGrom, Scherzer, Carrasco, Bassett, Walker, McGill, Peterson, fire rotation. 100%, man. Randall the Handle Sports Talk. Appreciate you tuning in, man. He says, get it, bud. Sorry, not sorry. LOL. Let's go Blue Jays. Hey, man, listen, if there's any team in the AL East I like, it's the Toronto Blue Jays. So definitely, I mean, I'm rooting for you guys to win the division, but you guys will definitely make the playoffs, definitely. But yeah, definitely appreciate you tuning in, man. I think we had another Blue Jays fan in here also. Ivan Doe says, besides the Mets, what other teams do you follow constantly? It's kind of hard because it's like, I mean, I follow the Mets, I obviously every single day, every single moment. I watch a lot of other teams. Like, I mean, I could, turn this into an overall baseball channel. But I mean, I would honestly say probably Yankees, Marlins, considering I live in Florida. Cal says, random question, but what's the deal with Matt Harvey right now? I don't think he's going to be playing for a while. I think he has his legal issues. Robert, what's going on, Robert? Appreciate you tuning in. Robert says, I saw an update on McCann is starting a rehab assignment on Thursday. Okay, that's good to hear. BSnell12, what's going on? He says, do you think we have a chance on Soto anymore? I mean, I think the Mets are probably going to have a chance on practically a lot of the big guys at the deadline. It's hard. I mean, there's just so much talk, and it's just like, I mean, you know how the New York media is, obviously. As of right now, I think there's a chance. I mean, considering that the Mets are a little bit less interested in giving up Alvarez now, I think may kind of discourage the Nationals to an extent. But Nationals and Soto are not on good terms. But he'll get traded. But if it's to the Mets, I don't know. I think it's like a 50-50. Daniel says Mets need just more than Mancini, Tate, and Soto from the Orioles. Also, they need to get either JD Martinez or Wilson Contreras. Mancini and Vogelback won't fix the offense. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Vogelback obviously is really just a power hitter, high strikeout guy. So you're going to need to go after, a Martinez or a Contreras. I agree. Cal says the Mets should call up Vientos. He is raking in AAA, gives us power and a better shot than Dom and JD. I agree. Randall the Handle Sports Talk says Orioles have a good bullpen. Yeah, I will say. Tate, Lopez, they got some good guys. Mets is a veteran ball club and a 2 to 3 window to win it all. After this past draft, Mets were ranked number 1 in their draft picks. The Mets need to go all in at the trade deadline and go for it. I agree. Yeah, I have to read more into that trade, but I did see that. 82. Would you say the Mets are doing better, worse, or similar to your expectations? We're up to at this point of the season. I would say pretty much exceptional. Daniel says Blue Jays have underperformed like hell this season. They fired their manager. I mean, yeah, it's crazy to see teams fire their manager. I mean, this like quickly in the season. I mean, we saw it with Girardi. We saw it with Montoyo. Obviously the Angels with Madden. But yeah, I mean, I will say compared to last year, I will say they have underperformed. But they're still, I think they're still doing a pretty good job, to say for the least. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love, homie. And I hope so, but might be a wild card. Yeah, I definitely think they'll get it as a wild card. So we are at the hour mark. Sorry if I was kind of rushing through the comments, towards the end, but kind of have some stuff to do now. It is a little bit after 4:30. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. We probably are going to call it a stream here. Really, really do appreciate you guys for tuning into today's stream. We had a phenomenal stream. I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. In today's stream, we did go over the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres series summary. Then we went over the New York Yankees and the New York Mets Subway Series preview. Super exciting. We went over all of your guys' comments, questions, concerns related to the current state of the Mets offense, the Mets pitching, IL stints, whatever, all of that great stuff. Really do appreciate you guys for tuning in with the nonstop support. It has been awesome. Like I said, please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications so you never miss a stream or video. Tell your friends about this channel if you know anyone who is interested in baseball and the Mets and the Blue Jays. Like I said, I know it says Mets Talk with Hayden, but I like to talk all baseball. I like to talk all baseball. I mean, definitely. I mean, I may not follow teams like the Reds or the Red Sox. Like I do with the Mets, but hey, I mean, you guys definitely are teaching me a lot. So, I really do appreciate the nonstop support on the channel. It has been awesome. Definitely really phenomenal. So yeah, probably going to call it a stream. Like I said, I really do appreciate everyone for tuning into today's stream. Elliot, Kodo Cat, Trey, Marco, Kobe, Cal, Alexander, Randall, the Handle Sports Talk, Daniel, B. Snell, Cal, Robert, Ibindos, Baseball's My Air, Kobe, Joey, Connor, Mitch, Trey, Mets fans, Peter, Talking Mets with Rob, Paul, Karen, Elliot, Sports Fan, Alexander, Seth. Hopefully I got everyone. If not, I do apologize. Mark's here. Everyone, I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Otherwise, let's take one of three is what I'm honestly going to say. I think that is probably the biggest thing to say. Take one of two, split the series, and the Mets will have a good chance. Otherwise, we're going to call it a stream here. Till next time, baseball fans, see ya.